Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, we all wanted the Saints to do something with the personnel on offense, so they went out and signed someone you all know well. Yep, Drew Brees is coming back. Wait, what's that? Oh, one of his receivers is coming back. Sorry about that. Who is it? Michael Thomas? No. Yeah, we don't need that kind of trouble. Jimmy Graham? Oh, yeah, they did that already. Who is it? Brandin Cooks? Didn't Sean Payton ship his ass out of here for a reason? How much? 2 years, $13 million. Huh. Okie doke. Well, I can't wait to ask the crew what they think of that on Mano E Monday. We'll also talk about the LSU women facing Florida State tonight in the PMAC for the right to go to the Sweet 16. Just don't pretend it's the opening game of football season and we should be just fine. And how's your bracket? I know two Dattitude dudes are doing pretty damn well. One was even 8-0 yesterday. Speaking of Dattitude dudes, I think we have our AI issues solved, and we're putting the robot against Gabe. What could go wrong? Let's find out. Let's go, Phil. Sing the song.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Excited about Brandin Cooks? I hear Marcus Colston wasn't available. They did whatever they had to do, you know? They just went out and, oh, you want to play for the Saints? Okay, come on. It's not that bad. We'll see. You can never get enough nostalgia, so that's why there is Dattitude, episode number 353, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, March the 24th, 2025. I am your host, Jim Derry. Yeah, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 34 and a half years. The New Orleans sports media scene, that is older than some of you have been alive. That means I'm old and I'm a dinosaur, but I'm still here. And I thank you for being a part of this ever-growing Dattitude family. What is on the show today? All kinds of stuff. We brought Mano E Monday back. That's right. I was thinking about who's going to be the guest this weekend. I had a busy weekend. And I'm like, yeah, let's bring Mano E Monday back, especially Brandin Cooks. It happened right after the show was over the other day, so we couldn't talk about it. So we'll have a show about it today. I'm going to give you some, as much as I made fun about it, I'm going to give you some reasons to be upbeat about it and why I'm on the fence. Okay. Why I think it's a semi-good thing. Okay? It's not a great thing. Gabe calls it a whole nothing burger. I mean, we'll see what it is. I got some details on it. We're going to go through that. LSU women against Florida State. They are 10.5 point favorites. The over-under on this game is like 167.5. These are the two of the highest scoring teams in women's basketball. Even if you don't know anything about women's basketball, it's one to watch. It should be interesting. It should be more fun to watch than, let's say, the men's tournament, which has been a snooze fest for the most part. Now, that being said, I'm calling it a snooze fest. However, I have watched as much of this tournament so far as I've watched in the past 5-7 years. I wouldn't say it's because of intrigue. I don't know. It's because I'm into my brackets and I haven't been the last few years. I don't know what's going on. It's not a complete snooze fest. It's as far as like game. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there biting my nails. I mean, the game last night, Arizona, Oregon was excellent. I thought that game was really good. What other games were really good? Well, I didn't really see the Maryland game. That one, obviously, a buzzer beater. Colorado State should have won. Colorado State led almost the entire game to the final couple minutes. They kind of let it go. I was happy because they had Maryland in the Sweet 16. So some of you may not. Anyway, there you go. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then we're going to end the show, of course, as we've been talking about. It is AI versus Gabe. We've got it right this time. We're not going to do it live. I asked it this morning. Of course, this time I asked it the first time it came out right. We got an AI pick of the day. So what's going to happen is Gabe is going to tell us whether he agrees with the AI pick, whether he gives it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We'll give you the AI's reasoning for the pick. And we're going to keep track. We're going to start keeping a record of it. So we'll see who's right more often. Is AI beat Gabe more often than Gabe, whatever. I mean, if he's with it, I guess they're together. So it'll be Gabe's record, not AI. I don't know. We'll figure that out as we go along. All right, what we got going on this morning on this Mano E Monday? Charles Mangus was first. Good morning to myself and the Dattitude family. Well, good morning to you, Charles. UBN is UBN. What's going on, man? You're saying good morning. You okay? You're not usually nice, especially on a Monday. I don't know. Charles, we're going to get into it in just a minute. Brandin Cooks, one of the best and few highlights was his 98-yard screen pass from Drew. He's not worth that much money. Now, see, again, I don't want to get into it too fast. I'm just going to say this. People keep saying everything's too much money. Everything is too much money. Every signing the Saints make, and I bet if you were a Patriots fan or a Cowboys fan or Gabe, even a Texans fan, that's too much money. You know why you think it's too much money? You know why you think everything is too much? Because you're comparing it to like 8-10 years ago. We live in a different world now with a different salary cap. Okay? I'm not saying you're wrong, Charles. You might end up being right. You may be right and I may be crazy. But that being said, you can't compare today's salaries and contracts to contracts from 3, 5, 7, 10 years ago. They don't relate. They don't match up. We told you the other day, I wasn't a fan of the Juwan Johnson contract. However, it's the going rate, you know? I mean, Gabe's saying, can I believe people saying too much money over a $13 million signing, $30 million contract? It's a nothing burger. I mean, look, $13 million is basically nothing in the grand scheme of things. And to back Gabe up in a few minutes, when we get into it, I'm going to give you some other wide receiver signings or some similar type signings to kind of prove that it's almost a nothing. And tell you how much money Brandin Cooks has made throughout his 11-year contract. You might be surprised when you hear this. How much money Brandin Cooks has made over the course of his 11-year contract. All right. I'm going to get to some more comments in just a minute. I want to tell you first that you can be a part of the show by typing in your comment, as you see our friends have done here on this Mano E Monday. Today, it's just me, it's just you, and it's Gabe. So we're going back to, you don't have to worry about us having a guest and not showing a lot of comments for 30 minutes or whatever they got. Just me and you. So whatever y'all want to say, we will show them as long within reason. If you're a numbnuts, I'm not in the mood on this Monday. I can't argue with people today. I had a good weekend, so I want to keep it that way. Again, be a part of the show by typing in your comment. Whether you watch it on YouTube or Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, if you are not yet subscribed to our growing YouTube, I know I keep saying grow. It is. It's growing. There are more than 4 times the amount of subscribers that we had at the start of season 4 last year. That's how much we've grown on YouTube. We're trying to get our family to go over to YouTube. You can go over there, subscribe to the YouTube page. You can get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. Give us a like. They say it helps for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway. What'd you do this weekend? When I tell you it's a good weekend, I mean, you can't really beat this. Oysters on Friday night. I've been waiting. It's been a while since some oysters. I watched the NCAA tournament almost all day Saturday. And yesterday, my main baseball draft, NL only league, we went to Drago's, had some more oysters, got together with, some of the main culprits. Larry Holder's in the league, Doug Mouton is in there, Luke Johnson's in it, Jeff Duncan's in it, Mike Triplett from New Orleans Sports Football, or New Orleans Football, whatever. Who else? You remember Mike Pearlstein? He works for Channel 4 now. This at one time was a media only league. My BFF Mike Prange is in there. Did I really just say BFF at 56 years old? Just came out. I don't know what happened. I've been hanging around my kids a lot too. We had a long chat about some kid things last night. I think it's still seeped in my brain. We had to talk for like 2 hours. It was fun last night. Who else in that league that you might know? Anyway, it was a lot of fun. We did that, and I got another one tonight. 16-teamer tonight. So it'll be a lot of fun. We get back to the comments in just a minute before we begin our return to Mano E Monday. Let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can help you figure out what that business is worth. If that's you or someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices. They have one on Poydras Street, right across from that big, oddly shaped building that's got the little thing in the middle. You know what I mean? It's got the gold on the sides, lights up at night. Poydras Street or in Lafayette. From there, you'll be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you decide to proceed. Nick's bracket was going great, but apparently he had Tulane in the Final Four. That could be a problem for him, but that's okay. Won't interfere with Zora. He can get back to work, strictly work. What happens after you decide if you want to proceed or not? Well, we'll feed you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay. Time to move on with the rest of the show. We're going to get into Saints here this morning. We're going to get into some more comments. Again, on this Mano E Monday, it's time for you to talk. Gary, good morning. Dreary weather this morning. Speaking of the dreary weather, Gary, just a heads up, a warning. My power, knock on wood, has gone out here at my house like 3 times over the past month. And it is about to, there's a giant red blotch. It's about to come on. So if something happens, Gabe and I have talked about it. We have plans, supposedly. Hopefully it won't happen. But if it does, Gabe will jump in, and then I will try to get on with my phone. We'll see what happens. Charles says it sounds like they're selling tickets to fill the dome and not win. Huh? I don't think Brandin Cooks is going to sell tickets. Kyle Sherman says, bring back Guido Merkins. You know, Guido Merkins, although he's 60 years old probably by now, maybe a little older. He's probably older than that. He could play everything, if you remember correctly. He was like the backup quarterback, the backup punter. Guido Merkins is 69 years old. He's going to be 70 in August. Wow. God, I'm old. Anyway, going back with this, maybe this will be Nostalgia Monday. Who knows? Rainy Cajun. Rainy perfect. It's raining here in New Orleans. What's going on? Up there in Seattle, right? Don't. 56-year-old brain working its magic again. Lance, UBN says he hasn't watched 1 minute of the tournament. Well, that's your bad. You watch. Look, even though I say sleep, I'm exaggerating a bit. It's still been fun to watch. I've enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, I wish there would have been some more upsets and a couple more buzzer beaters. Charles says Duke still wins it all. I hope so. Duke wins it all. There's one bracket I'm going to win. It's not necessarily the Dattitude bracket, which we'll get into later. We'll give you an update on that in a minute. Gabe's going to probably win it if that happens. But we have a little side bracket among TP sports writers. Just going to say if Duke wins it, I will have some bragging rights. Brian, good morning. And good morning to the Hoodats. Rocky, good morning. Kyle has 11 out of 16 in Sweet 16, all Final Four picks. Use the preview show on Dattitude to great effect. I told you Tom knew what he was talking about. Some of my upset picks, the ones that have come through, got to give Tom and Gabe a little credit. Both of them helped me make some decent picks. Lance says Cooksey will be good for Shaheed. I think that's a good one. I think that's a good comment there. Lots of pro tips on selling her out, and Shaheed's still developing as a receiver. Here's the thing the only thing that worries me is, and maybe Brandin Cooks a little bit better at his older age. He's kind of a jackass when he was here. Has he changed? I hope so. I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to him. I think he has. Gabe says yes. I mean, he was a Texan for 3 years, so it's amazing how players kind of chill out when they get into their late 20s and early 30s and become adults. Look, and I'm not giving Brandin Cooks crap because I was a jackass until I was probably 35. And some people say I still am, but I mean like real jackass, like obstinate a-hole until I was probably like, I don't know, through my first marriage, hence why it was my first marriage. My wife today has really changed me a lot. Maybe that's where you be in. It's amazing how nice he becomes when the temps get over 70 degrees. I hear it's supposed to get cold again. I'm just kidding. I don't know. What else we got this morning? Adam Varner is here. Good morning. The only one that wasn't great to him was Juwan Johnson. He doesn't think he's that good. Yeah. I mean, we went over this again with Juwan Johnson. I mean, again, I don't love it. I wouldn't have done it. However, that being said, it's the going rate. It's an average tight end contract for an average tight end. It is what it is. We may talk about it again in a minute. Who knows? Dylan Smith, good morning, Dattitude family. And Lance, you are right. I am keeping it positive, brother. Keeping it positive. Brian S. Steve, regardless of the money, Cooks filled the need for wide receiver depth. I still feel like we don't have a true number one. Olave is close to that, but still lacks the ability to dominate. Now, again, here's a problem. I mean, by definition, a number one receiver would be one of the top 32 receivers in the NFL, right? I mean, if you don't think Chris Olave, now granted, he's got to stay healthy, but if you don't think Chris Olave is one of the top 32 receivers in the NFL, you're just being silly. Gabe says he bets it's not as high as people think. I mean, come on. Look, Olave still got work to do. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not bashing you, Brian. Again, these are all these things, contracts, where people stand. I'm not bashing anybody. Trust me, I'm not. So don't take it the wrong way. I'm just saying, when you talk about contracts, when you talk about whatever, their perception, you're basing your perception off of things either in the past or, when you think of number one receiver, you probably just think a top 10 guy. Is Chris Olave a top 10 guy? Probably not. Gabe's talking about that's what the money Cooks has made. I got you. I mean, is Chris Olave is not a top 10 guy? I mean, he could be one day if he could stay healthy. He's borderline-ish. Top 15, certainly think he's top 20. Gabe's shaking his head. We'll get into that later. Anyway, I just think that it's hard. I mean, I get why you don't think that. Shaheed, is he, again, if you go by the same logic, if he's a number two receiver, is he a top 64 receiver, Rashid Shaheed? I think so. Going by the same logic. Again, this is probably not how you think about it, but is Brandin Cooks a top 96 wide receiver? Gabe, thumbs up or thumbs down? Brandin Cooks, top 96 receiver. He says no. I think it's close. Brian Cavett says, next move, Jari Evans will switch from coach to player, fix the car issues. He's a little old. How old? Let's do this on live TV. Jari Evans is 41. You don't have a whole lot of offensive linemen out there at 41 years old. I know you're being funny, but that would be funny, actually. Dylan says, well, the Tigers have a lights out Friday night guy, but not very deep in the bullpen, talking about the baseball team. Yeah, Cade Anderson was awesome on Friday night. Just like last year, going to need win one or two. Look, all right, Dylan, love you. You're obviously a regular member of the Dattitude family. Here we're going to go with the reality versus perception again. We're going to have a lot of reality versus perception, I think, today. Are we really going to dog out on the Tigers because they lost 2 games in Texas after they won the first one? They're 22-3. Chill out. And I know you're not getting fired up. I'm just saying. You went on the road against probably the toughest opponent other than, I mean, they're they're probably the second best team in the SEC, Texas. I mean, LSU and Texas, what and what, right? You went on the road to play them. You dominated in game one. It's a little early anyway. I'm just saying. Phil Mariande, good morning from Texas. David Bordelon, good morning to the Dattitudes from sunny Wyoming. I am jealous. Although UBN wouldn't probably do very well in Wyoming. It's probably cold there. Let's see. Weather in Cheyenne. It's 54 degrees and it's getting down to 42 tonight. UBN would not appreciate that whatsoever. Let's see. Any idea how to fix LSU men's basketball? No. Gabe's idea is to bring back a coach that's already going somewhere else. He would bring back Will Wade if he could. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm not gonna bet. Look, Will Wade, got to give him credit. I mean, he's played a hell of a game, and I'm so pissed at myself though because I was talking to Duncan yesterday and at the draft, and he was right. And I don't know why I didn't see this, but the bet of the entire tournament so far, and I didn't see it, and I let it slip away, was to bet against McNeese in round 2. You knew they gave everything they could give. I don't know. Gabe says Olave can't hold a flame to the top 15. That's because Kyle said he's top 15 when healthy. I agree. He's top 15 when he's healthy. Gabe's just being a hater this morning. I think somebody pissed in his Cheerios. I don't know. We'll see. Brian says, we've had this convo before on Olave. He is a number 2. Should I send you the list again? No, I'm not doing it. I don't care what list you send me. You can send me whatever list you want, okay? You're not going to send me a list that I'm going to agree that there are 32 receivers in the NFL better than Chris Olave. You're just not going to do it. You can send me whatever your list you want. You're being closed-minded. Yeah, I'm being closed-minded. Not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It doesn't. There isn't a list that exists. Just saying. 32. You think there are 32 receivers better than Chris Olave? No. Just aren't. What else we got here before we start talking more about Brandin Cooks? Bart Prudhomme says Breeze is no longer quarterback. Cooks is old news now. Lost draft picks in 2026. Stop believing everything you read on the internet, Bart. My son sent me panicking. Here's the deal. They might lose a draft pick, one draft pick in 2026. And if they did, it would be a 7th rounder. Repeat after me. Who gives a shit? Who cares? They lose a 7th rounder because they got a number 3 receiver. Who cares? Stop believing everything you read on the internet. Do you realize that people make money off of clicks, okay? It's called clickbait. They will type up anything in a headline to get you to click on it. And if you're falling for the bait, I don't know what to tell you. What else we got here? Kimberly. GM who dat? I don't want that job. No thanks. UBN says Saints need running back depth. What is Deuce up to? He's got a job. Got a good job, actually. Saint for life. If some team wants Olave, trade him and get picks back, draft another receiver. Okay, another reality check, Saint for life. What do you think you would get for Olave? Here's another reality check, and I have to go through this about at least once a month. Trading for draft picks don't work the way you think they work. Okay. You rarely ever, and I mean rarely ever, get the value back you think you should get for a player, because it doesn't work that way, because salaries go with them, where they are, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You're never going to get for Olave what you think you should get. Like, what would you think if the Saints were going to trade? I don't know. I'm bring up Alvin Kamara. What do you think the Saints? What kind of draft pick you think the Saints could get for Alvin Kamara? I'm going to guess 4th round, 3rd round, maybe, because it doesn't work the way you think that it works. Just saying. Kyle Sherman says it's sunny in Oregon finally. Yeah. I think it'll be sunny here tomorrow. Look, we've had a pretty good string of weather, so I can't complain too much. Let's see. 4th rounder, yeah. Probably. Lance Dobart. If Olave is top 32, then you get a 2nd and a 3rd. No way. Doesn't work that way. Why? Because Olave is about to get past his rookie contract. I'm not saying the Saints will pay him, but whoever trades for him, you're not going to get a 2nd and a 3rd or a 4th to get someone that's only going to be with you for a year. You'd have to do a sign and trade. Not going to happen. They wouldn't do it anyway. They wouldn't do it. All right, let's talk about Brandin Cooks now. Let's get into Brandin Cooks. We've talked enough about. I didn't expect to talk about Chris Olave this morning, but I guess it makes sense that we would. 2 years, $13 million. Again, I'm going to go back to an earlier comment. I don't remember who was it that said it. Was it Charles Mangus? I don't remember who it was. The 2 years, $13 million, or is that too much? It's like Gabe said. I agree with Gabe. It's basically a whole lot of nothing. I mean, when you're talking about $13 million these days over a 2-year contract. Now, I'm with a lot of you that probably the part that I don't like was the 2-year part. I'm not a fan of the 2-year, signing him to a 2-year deal. Somebody that's going to be 32 years old right after opening day. Not a fan of that at all. But you're talking about $6.5 million a year. I mean, in a salary cap that's $275 million, big whoop. Got some other contracts that you can look at and you can kind of compare to. Here's some things if you're looking to say, okay, where does he fit in? Okay, and I didn't put all these. I could have gone through and I spent like 20 minutes and could have spent 2 hours on this, lining up contracts and saying, where does he fit in? But here's some recent re-signing / signing / restructure / whatever that you can kind of compare it to. Is Brandin Cooks better than Adam Thielen? Gabe says no. I say what and what. I say they're both old and who cares? Gabe says no. I mean, come on. But even so, all right, even if you think Adam Thielen's better, he's not that much better. Okay. 1 year, Adam Thielen just restructured. 1 year, $8.5 million. Adam Thielen's 34. He's going to be 35 on opening day. I don't want anything to do with a 35-year-old wide receiver. Adam Thielen has 1,600 yards over the last 2 years. You know why? Because they got nothing else. Regardless, even if you think so, he's 3 years older than a guy who's already pretty much old in the wide receiver realm, and he's making $2 million more. No thanks. What about MVS, who was here last year? Is Brandin Cooks better than MVS? Yeah, probably a little bit better. MVS got 1 year, $4 million with Seattle. Pretty similar contract. What about Kevontae Turpin, who's obviously younger, who's like a number 4 receiver and a special teams guru? Is Brandin Cooks better or worse, Gabe? Worse. I don't know that I necessarily disagree. I don't disagree with that. He got a 3-year, $13.5 million. I just don't know what kind of contract, and he was hurt. I just don't know what kind of contract you're going to give. I mean, Kevontae Turpin's basically a special teams guy, and a very good one at that. It was in the USFL or XFL, whatever it was. I think USFL. Just a couple of years ago. But yeah, he's played for Birmingham, played against the Breakers. What about Darius Slayton? Now, Darius Slayton is definitely better than Brandin Cooks. Okay. Is he like that much better than Brandin Cooks? Yeah, he's better. It's not that much better. Darius Slayton signed a 3-year, $36 million contract with the Giants. You know what that tells me? just kind of tells you what the going rates are. What about Tutu Atwell? Tutu Atwell, probably better than Brandin Cooks, but not a ton better. He's better. It's not a 1-year extension with the Rams. For $10 million, just because to show you how ridiculous receiver. We've been through this before. I think receiver contracts are kind of absurd in general. I think running backs are underpaid. You know? Why don't they pay more? I mean, Lance says Tutu's just younger. That's all. I agree. I don't know. Lance, boy, you're not, Lance, you're starting to sound like the Derek Carr haters, except you're an Olave hater. Maybe you really aren't a hater. It just sounds like that. You think Cooks may be the first step in Olave? They did not bring in Cooks to get rid of Olave. Not only that, Lance, here's another thing, a reality check. And look, we tell it the way that it is in the show. Who out there, the Saints would never get the value they need for the risk reward, because who's going to trade for a guy that's had 4 concussions or whatever it is? Nobody, really. So going back to Olave, I just don't think he's tradable. That's where we are with that. You talk about the contracts that Brandin Cooks has made throughout the seasons. The last 2 seasons. So again, you're going through I want to go through some of his contracts real briefly, but to show you that it's kind of in line with the downside of his career. Okay. So 2 years, $13.5 million. Well, the last 2 seasons he had with the Cowboys, $20 million. So it shows down $6.5 million. I can even figure that out. He made $12 million in 2023. He made $8 million last year. He's going to make $6.5 million basically this year and next year. That's right in line with where he should be going. According to Sport Track, he has made, over the course of his 11 seasons, get this. You want to talk about overpaid positions? Brandin Cooks, 11 seasons, $116.5 million. Is Brandin Cooks, look, he's been a good receiver. Don't get me wrong. Anybody that makes it as long as he's made it going to his 12th season, kudos to him. But has Brandin Cooks been worth over $10 million a year throughout his career? Gabe says yes. I mean, to Texas fans, his best years are probably with the Texans, maybe his last 2 seasons in New Orleans. I mean, you look at his, and you might hear the thunder in the background. Getting serious, y'all. Houston, his last 2020 and 2021 in Houston. 2020 he had 90 catches for 1,037. I mean, it's just 5 years ago. 90 catches for 1,037 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then the next year, he had 81 catches for 1,150 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's had 6 1,000-yard seasons. So maybe he is worth $10 million over the course of his career. Like Gabe said, consistently 1,000-yard receiver 6 times. He's done it 6 times in 11 seasons. That's consistent. There's no doubt. That's consistent. That the definition of consistent. Chris Ortego says way underpaid. So we got opinions all over the yard here. See, Brian says, what's that? $2 million per TD. I mean, you don't judge by touchdowns. That's like judging quarterbacks by wins. No, that's even worse than that, actually. Way worse. Anyway. My whole point here is I make jokes about the contract in the open, 2 years and guys that we could have had and going back in the past and why did Sean Payton get rid of them? We're going to get into that. That's the thing that kind of worries me a little bit. But you're talking about a different guy now. I mean, he's been gone for what, 8 years? He's coming back? No, I know you're joking, Brian. But he's been gone for 8 years. Why did he leave in the first place? All right, well, I had to go back and look because I remembered the gist of why he left. But I wanted to go read up on it before the show today. Went back to a story from 2017 by Ian Rappaport. I'm gonna read this. Sorry about that. Drop something here. Why did he leave in the first place? Story by 2017. Ian Rappaport said he was dealt by Peyton for, quote, unhappiness with his role, doubts that aging quarterback Drew Brees could get him the ball deep, and Saints' frustrations with Cooks focusing on numbers and their disbelief he should be paid like a top receiver. So, you know this as well as I do from watching the Saints. If you watch, if you're at least 35 or 40 or maybe even younger than that, if you paid attention to this team at all, then you know that Sean Payton, if you didn't jive with his chemistry, and it's one of the things that I loved about Sean Payton, really. Sean Payton had a checklist. If you didn't click off every one of those checklists, you were going to be gone. Okay? Lance says some good reasons. And, if you were not agreeing with the coach and you were saying, I need to get catches and I need to get paid and blah, 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 and you're basically still on your rookie contract and you're stirring a pot. Now, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm not even saying he wasn't right. But you can't go public with that kind of stuff. They shipped his ass out of here in a hurry. It kind of worked out for the Saints. What did they get for Brandin Cooks? Well, they netted the 32nd pick of, I think, the 2017 draft. Or 2018, whatever, 2017, 2018, whatever year it was. The last pick of the draft in the first round, Ryan Ramczyk. That worked out. Now, I wish Ryan Ramczyk was still here, but I'm just saying. So, yes, good reasons. But when you're talking about a guy that's going to be 32 years old, you as well, and I said this before, I'm not just bashing Brandin Cooks, because I've just told you a few minutes ago, if you were listening, I was the biggest asshole I knew when I was 25, 26, 27 years old. I just was. Some people say I haven't changed much. I think I've changed a lot. My wife of almost 20 years will tell you the difference in me from when we first started dating and to today is significant. I still have my issues. I'm working on them. But the point is, Brandin Cooks from age 22 and 23 and 24 and bitching about not getting the ball from a Hall of Famer. I mean, he was right about Drew Brees not being able to throw the ball deep. That's a whole different story. Because at that point in time in his career, Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball deep. But it wasn't part of the Saints' MO. UBN says it's because I didn't know him when he was 25. You got a point. So, but I think he's a different dude now. And I've watched him. I've actually paid fairly close attention to him, drafted him on my fantasy team. Not that it has anything to do with it last year. Charles sounds like LL Cool J. And any given Sunday, I need the ball to get paid. That is what he said. He said something along the lines of, quote, closed mouths don't get paid. And I think that was the final straw. That's what ended up getting him out of here. I think the signing's a good one. Okay. So all that put together, when you come down to it and the signing of Brandin Cooks is a positive one for the Saints. 2 years, $13 million. You bring in, you could say it's a nothing burger if you want, Gabe Henderson. But you bring in a veteran. When you talk about your top two receivers who are young dudes, you bring in another veteran. Is Cedric Wilson going to be part of this mix? Is he a number 4? I have no idea. The Saints are going to draft a receiver, or they're going to bring in another receiver in free agency at some point. They're certainly going to have free agents to compete. The one position you always see stand out in preseason, and guys you've never heard of, to me, you can find a running back like that, and you find a receiver like that. Skill players. That's where you find someone. And I think the Saints are going to do the same thing. They do it almost every year. There'll be some receiver we're not even talking about right now. What about Bub Means? Can he take the next step? Maybe. Well, we're talking about AI, Christian, so we'll show it here. AI says Stephon Diggs or Keenan Allen. Stephon Diggs, no, I can't say no way. I'm not going to say 0.0. By the way, did y'all see my short on 0.0 the other day? Go take a look at it if you haven't seen it. I don't think they would sign Diggs. I could see Keenan Allen, I guess. But if you sign a Brandin Cooks, who's 32, do you really want? I mean, with Keenan Allen's got to be about the same age as we go here. Again, how many times are we going to do this on Live 2 today? Keenan Allen, also 32 years old. Actually, he's going to turn 33 next month. Do you want a 32-year-old and a 33-year-old receiver? I don't know. I think that this is the move they're going to make. Maybe. I'm not saying no. I mean, if you're going to sign one of those two guys, I would sign Keenan Allen. How much is it going to take to sign Keenan Allen? Do they have the money? They actually still have a decent amount of money left over. So we'll see. All right, we're going to wrap up the show with Saints today. So we got a couple other things to talk about this morning. But I want to get into the women, the LSU women. Rainy Cajun, I don't have everyone's birthday filing away in my head. Little quick side joke. That used to be the thing when I was a kid. I was supposedly the birthday savant. I knew everyone's birthday. My family and everyone else. I don't know why I knew that, but funny, I don't remember that anymore because I'm old, I guess. Again, we're going to wrap up the show coming back to Saints, but I do want to talk about a couple other things here this morning. And that includes the LSU women playing tonight. 5 p.m. That's right. They played at 9:15 on Saturday. They played 5 p.m. this afternoon. Some of you might not even be home from work yet. The Tigers are 10.5-point favorites over Florida State in the NCAA Women's Tournament. You see, Flau'jae. She apparently her injury is just fine now. She played just fine on Saturday night, and the Tigers in general played fine as they defeated San Diego State 103-48. It was a program record for points. 103 points, record in an NCAA game for LSU. It was their 6th 100-point game this season. But that being said, they're playing a Florida State team. And even though LSU's a 10.5-point favorite, I know they should win easily. They're playing a Florida State team that beat George Mason, 94-59. Florida State is number 2 in the country, scoring 87.4 points per game. LSU is 6th at 85 points per game. This is by far the highest over-under of the day by like 12 points. It is 169.5. So even with my limited Shaw math skills, they're telling me that the score is going to be somewhere around the neighborhood of, I don't know, 88-78, 86-76. Is that high enough? UBN's excited that he can catch the whole game because it starts at 5 p.m. It'll end before his bedtime. Mally Mal wants to know if something's wrong with Asante Samuel and nobody picked him up yet. Gabe, what's wrong with Asante Samuel? Do you know? He's giving me the who gives a shit face. He's going to answer that for me in just a minute. The Tigers are trying to get to the Sweet 16 for the 3rd straight year. And we were worried about Flau'jae being healthy. She played just fine. How about Anissa Morrow? She also was a little banged up. Well, she was just fine as well. Another double-double for her. She is the 2nd player in the NCAA women's history with 100+ double-doubles in her career. Wow. So the LSU women tonight, 5 p.m. I believe it's on ESPN. LSU is a 10.5-point favorite. I am not touching that with a stick. We may come back to the LSU women's tournament if Gabe wants to talk about it in a minute. But first, we told you earlier, we will let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after your complimentary valuation of your company. If you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities, the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success. They're fully licensed, ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It ain't the NCAA tournament. It ain't Brandin Cooks. It ain't even Marcus Colston, Eric Martin. Who else played receiver for the Saints? Go back in the day. Guido Merkins. Danny Abramowitz. None of those. What's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, let's have some fun. Let's spark some debate. Let's spark, I'm not saying controversy, because it might not necessarily be controversy. We just don't agree. We should have fun with this because I think we have two different takes. Gabe Henderson, I'm going to tell you why this tournament so far has been a whole lot of nothing. Now, that being said, again, I've watched a ton of it, okay? So I've watched more of the NCAA tournament than I've probably watched college basketball all year long, okay, combined. The top four seeds were 16-0 for the first time since 2017. The sixth time since the field expanded to 64 teams in 1985. The top two seeds won by an average of nearly 26 points. Yippee! 2 12 seeds won. Colorado State made Maryland sweat yesterday. Should have won in round 2. They had the only real buzzer beater this entire tournament. Well, I mean, it's kind of misleading because Colorado State was, as the 12 seed, was favored over Memphis, who had their own issues in round 1. Vandy almost had a buzzer beater, a 3-point clanging off the rim in the opening round against St. Mary's. But just to me, there hasn't been enough of edge of my seat, chomping on my fingernails again. I love the Oregon-Arizona game last night. I was ready to turn it off. I'm like, I can't turn it off yet. It was exciting. But for the most part, nothing that's got me super excited.
What gets you super? That's my question.
More buzzer beaters, more upsets. I mean, I want to lose tournament. I want to see a 4 seed lose. I want to see a 2 seed come down to the wire.
The last year's tournament?
You know what? I don't even remember last year's tournament, to be honest.
Because everyone's complaining about not enough action in this tournament. There wasn't a real buzzer beater in last year's tournament.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a trend because I don't really.
The way I'm going to define a buzzer beater is last possession. I mean, the horn sounds, red lights are flashing on the backboard as the shot goes in. That's a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a last second shot. There hasn't been a real buzzer beater since 2023 before yesterday.
Okay.
But
well, you know what?
Just like,
I don't remember last year's tournament either, so maybe it's 2 years in a row. I don't know.
I mean, they all kind of blend together once you get older. But other than
that's true. How do you know?
I've been watching March Madness for a long time.
Well, how was your Friday, real quick? You went to Lake Charles on Friday.
I went to Lake Charles Thursday and Friday. It was good.
Okay.
I had some success betting.
All right. Well, we both have some parlays that are excited to go along. All right, forget that part of it. What has been? What have you enjoyed the most about this tournament so far through 4 days?
Well, I was going to say just to kind of counterpoint your original
counterpoint.
There have been 19 single-digit games this tournament.
Okay.
I've got a list here. I'm not going to read it because no one.
19 out of what
list?
I'm trying to think how many.
48.
48 games, 19 out of 40. All right, that's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, I mean we're almost hitting 50%. Call it for what it is in just rough math. Not 50%. 50% would be 24, but it's a good percentage of games have been single digit games.
Fair enough.
I think what has really put people off this year's tournament has been the strategy of coaches at the end.
It's been some bad ones.
And I'll say this, it was really interesting going back to Oregon and Arizona last night. It was really interesting watching Dana Altman the strategy that he took and Tommy Lloyd at Arizona. Just watching that chess match back and forth.
that was interesting.
But we haven't seen that from a lot of coaches. We've seen, I know, like Rodney Terry.
I thought New Mexico completely mishandled the way they played the end of the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of teams. I thought Maryland tried their best to give it away at the end.
Yeah.
But then they ended up hanging on with the buzzer beater, and I thought that was an awesome buzzer beater. One of my friends texted me as soon as it happened, and he was like, that wasn't a good play that they drew up, but they put the ball in the hands of their best player and let him shoot. Yeah. It was they put the ball in the hands of their best player and said shoot. It was awesome. So there have been a whole host of awesome games. I'm not going to get upset about this tournament being chalky because that was the one word that everyone used going into it. You know, it's like planning to go to the beach on a day where meteorologists say it's going to rain. And then you walk outside and you're like, oh, damn, it's raining. Beach day is going to suck. And it's like, well, you were warned about that. So we knew it was going to be a chalky tournament going in. And then when it is chalky, everyone gets upset.
No, that's a good. I don't disagree with that point at all. But the point is, I guess, for me is some of the other, I guess, in Alabama, they were close at half, and then they rolled in the second half. And Florida yesterday was super close, and then they
the Florida game yesterday was really good.
Then they kind of rolled off with it. Duke was actually close for a little bit. So I guess if you take chunks of games that were close, but I mean, look, we had it on during my draft, and really the only time we stopped the draft yesterday was toward the last 2 minutes of the Florida game because we all, you know, that you're talking about brackets blowing up across America if Florida can't hold on. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm just saying that it's not just the buzzer beaters, it's not just the close games. It's just there hasn't been a lot of intrigue, you know, like where's my sister Jean this year? Where's my, I don't know. I need some storylines.
Well,
I don't have a storyline.
You weren't going to get it because these top teams are so good. I mean, Arkansas is the closest you'll come this year. Really.
Yeah, Calipari versus Pitino. That was fun.
I mean, a lot of people.
By the way,
a lot of people didn't even have Calipari making it past the first round.
No, and I didn't. But I want to say this, and I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know how many people who are watching the show right now watched that game. That was the most ridiculously officiated NCAA tournament game I've seen, maybe ever. I mean, I have never seen a group of officials that wanted to get their faces on screen more than these three idiots.
That's crazy. There have been a lot of games that have been poorly.
I mean, I don't know how many fouls were called total. I'd have to go and look, but it was absurd. Like people were fouling out left and right, and like they were almost determined to. And I don't know how I got to give Calipari credit because I don't give him enough credit. How he made it through the end of that game and still won that game with his two big men in foul trouble throughout the whole thing was very impressive.
I will say this, and I don't often give John Calipari a lot of credit. This might be his best coaching job of his career.
It very well could have been.
This team is not. They've got the talent. They don't have everything else.
44 fouls called, by the way.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. That was a game where going in, everyone knew it was going to be physical. You've got a physical SEC team against a St. John's team with size, and they defend really well. There's just no reason to call that many fouls. Let them play.
44 fouls, more than one a minute.
I thought I think it was Oregon, Arizona last night. It was one of the games last night. The officials did an excellent job of letting them play.
Yeah, they did. The only thing I didn't like is they went the last minute. They must have went back and checked to see who the ball went out on like 5 times, which I'm fine. Yes. There was like 2 of them. Like, okay, you got 2
instances,
and there was another one. Well, maybe, but there were 2 where okay, come on, that's ridiculous. Why are we wasting 2 minutes to find out? I mean, come on.
I get it, but here's the thing: in this day and age, where I mean, I hate to bring this up, but let's call it for what it is. The Saints have been screwed by officiating before. I'd rather them take the time to get it right. I just wish there was a way to speed up.
Yeah,
I wish there was a way to speed up. Like the expedited review in the NFL. That's awesome. That's one of the best things 100%. They've added recently.
100%.
So, I agree. So I think overall this tournament's been fine. I think it's been fun. That's coming from someone who's watched about every single minute of every single game. It's been a lot of fun. It has been chalky. You're going to get those years. We were warned. So I'm okay with the way it's played.
Well, I think also the reason why I think the reason why you and I don't see it the same way is because you are a super huge college basketball fan anyway. I am not. I'm a casual. I'm absolutely a casual.
I'm relatively casual.
Yeah, but you probably, how much college basketball in a regular week? You probably watch, I don't know.
Not as much as I could.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking about an average week. I might go a whole week without watching any college basketball.
Yeah, I might as well, depending on my schedule.
I just think, and also because you're younger, I've lost the interest. I think there are too many teams. I got to be honest. I love, as much as I love the tournament. I mean, we have to. Why do we have to expand to 68? I mean, do we have to put 4 extra teams in there? I think it's kind of silly.
Here's my hot take.
Especially in women's basketball,
the women's tournament is out of control.
I mean, it's
some
just
of those teams
insane.
Should not. When you get teams, I think they set a record this year for teams that scored 100 in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get teams winning by 70, 80 points.
It's like Louisiana high school basketball that they've tried to fix a little bit. There's just the too many teams. Go ahead.
Did you see the live spread on the UConn game the other day?
No, was it 60?
72.5.
Okay.
At halftime.
At halftime, it's 72 and a half.
Halftime. UConn played their starters, some of them for 14 minutes, and the others played like 22 minutes of the game.
And also,
I get it. They're the cream of the crop, but what are we doing?
When you see games when teams like could score 150 if they had to, like if the objective was to score, you win if you score 150, you lose if you don't. You know, UConn could have scored 150, just like LSU the other night. I think if they really tried, maybe not 150, but they certainly could have scored 130 if they wanted to. Yeah. They took their foot off the gas. All right. Any final thought here on the tournament before we get to our new segment that I absolutely love, by the way?
We've both done really well with our brackets.
We have. I'm glad you brought that up because our bracket challenge, and in case you didn't know, I mean, I guess theoretically you could put your bracket in there now. I mean, it'd be kind of...
I think you can.
It'd be kind of crappy to do it now. There are 19 entries in our Dattitude bracket challenge, by the way, which is for no prize whatsoever. It's strictly for bragging rights, and I will mention your name on the air if you win it. But after 2 rounds of play, after 48 games, as we go into the Sweet 16, the highest, and I actually like to look at the max, like your max score over.
I believe I have the max, don't I?
You have the highest max. You are number 1 out of 19 with a max score of 1780. So in other words, if everybody was perfect, well, everybody can't be perfect because they pick different things. But if everybody was perfect going forward, Gabe would win right now. He's got a max score of 1780. I am 8th at 1710. So 8th out of 19, which isn't great, but I'm at the thing I like about this, about how our brackets, the Dattitude bracket as a whole. So we have 19 entries. 11 of the 19 are in the 70 or higher percentile. So our Dattitude family has done a really nice job so far with their brackets. You are 3rd overall, 90. You're in the 94.3 percentile. I am 8th in the 77.1% percentile. So I went 8-0 yesterday, and I'm really pissed because I had you look this up. What would have a money line parlay been had I bet the money line on all 8 teams? Because I had them all still alive yesterday, and they went 8-0. And it would have been plus 3,600 or thereabouts. So a $10 bet would have netted me 360 something bucks, and I didn't do it.
But let's call it for what it is. If you do that for an NCAA tournament day, you're an absolute sicko.
Yeah, but you know what? If I would do it for every day and bet $10 every day, no matter what, I'd still be ahead because
I'll tell you what.
Yesterday,
this kind of goes back on my point and it kind of validates your point. Every year for the last few years, betting on the underdogs in the first round game, like if you put, let's say, 1 unit on all of the underdogs, you would come out positive. This year, you would not.
There you go. I wouldn't.
That's why I picked and chose accordingly. Looking at you, McNeese.
Yeah.
Shout out Will Wade.
Should have bet against McNeese on Saturday.
I did.
It was the I know you did, and Duncan was right. It was the bet of the tournament. He's absolutely 100%. Right.
Well, let's call it for what it is. I mean, I watched them play against Clemson.
I'm not bashing Nick.
No, neither am I. Neither am I. But I watched. I mean, we watch LSU basketball. We know what kind of player Brandon Murray is. I like Brandon Murray a lot. Brandon Murray is not someone who will go out and be your leading scorer every day. It's just not consistent. You can't expect him to do that.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I saw that he was the leading scorer against Clemson, I was like, they are going to struggle offensively.
Yeah.
And they really did struggle offensively. I think they went on a 15-2 run to end that game or something. And they were really kind of almost annoyingly to bettors. I saw people get annoyed with this. They were trying their asses off till the final whistle, even though they were down like 20.
What's wrong with that? They're not supposed to?
No, there's nothing. I have no problem with that.
It's
whatsoever.
ridiculous.
I mean, some of these guys, it's the last time they'll ever step on a court. Let them play.
Breaking news, Xavier coach Sean Miller has agreed
Texas.
to become the next basketball
I think
coach.
that happened yesterday.
Well, there were rumors that it was going to happen. It's now official. All right, moving on to our newest segment. In case you haven't noticed the last couple of days, we've been talking about it here on the show. Gabe wasn't here on Friday. It was kind of a bomb, so it didn't work out the way that I would have hoped that it worked out. However, it's working out today because we're going to do this beforehand. It's going to be AI versus Gabe. And what I mean, if you don't know, artificial intelligence, come on, and you're not that old. You're not that much of an old dog, are you? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask ChatGPT before every show, and even if Gabe's not here, we're still going to do it. Maybe it'll be against me, or I'll just tell you what it thinks. But I'm going to ask ChatGPT for its best sports bet of the day, and I will tell you its reasoning. And then Gabe will give us either thumbs up or thumbs down, whether he agrees with it, and we'll track the progress of how AI does and how Gabe does on the pick of the week. Today's first installment of AI versus Gabe, the Monday pick today, according to ChatGPT, is Lakers -4.5 over the Orlando Magic. And the reasoning behind it, Gabe Henderson, is that the Lakers have covered the spread in 48 of their last 77 games, yielding a profit of 15.22 units. What say you, Gabe Henderson? Do we like Lakers -4.5 over the Magic, or do we not like Lakers 4.5 over the Magic?
I'll entertain you because this is the segment. But if I'm being honest, anyone who is hoping to get some betting advice out of this segment, don't take any stock in what we say.
Yeah, but I will say before you give me your pick, trends are trends. And if we go on a run here and people start following, it doesn't matter why a trend is a trend. It just matters that you jump on the train. We're telling you to jump on the train early. All right, Gabe, go ahead with you.
Well, I'll give you a trend. The Lakers are 15-17-1 ATS away from home in their last, I don't know how many games. Or no, they're just away from home in general this season. And the Magic are 17-17. So those are almost
before you give me your pick, I'm going to tell you, and my opinion doesn't matter because I'm not keeping track of my opinion, but I will tell you why I do like this pick. By the way, the game's in Orlando.
Yeah.
The reason why I do like this game, this pick, and I do like the Lakers is because they got trashed the other night, and I think they're going to be pissed off and they're going to come back ready to play. So I actually like -4.5 because I think they win by a significant margin. But you give me your pick.
I think these are teams who have been going in opposite directions recently. The Magic are playing a little bit better. The Lakers have not been good. As you mentioned, they got trashed the other day by Chicago. But if I had to bet, I would bet on the best basketball player on the face of the earth in the Los Angeles
Michael
Lakers.
Jordan is playing basketball again?
No, he's not. It's LeBron James.
So you're going thumbs up with AI.
I'm going thumbs up with AI for this pick.
It's a yes.
Begrudgingly, I don't have a real opinion on this game, but if I had to pick, I would go with Lakers -4.
If any of you in the chat
actually
want to make a pick,
if we were actually betting it, you can get Lakers -3.5 on some markets. I believe DraftKings might have it at 3.5, or when I checked about an hour ago, that's they did.
I thought I should actually look and see what the DraftKings, because that's the odds that we actually use. So for it's 4. It's -4 at DraftKings at the moment.
Let me see. Let me get you where I can get the best. Where you can get, in case anyone does want
Gabe,
to
tell
take
him,
this
by
as
the way,
betting advice.
Gabe, tell him, by the way, that you write a lot of stuff for the company that you're working for as well. So
I do.
check
I
out your
write a
stuff.
lot of stuff for Sportsbook Review, and we've got a handy little tool on there. In addition to publishing game previews and betting previews for these games, which we do have a Lakers Magic preview tonight. I believe our freelance writer went with Orlando, so he is fading AI. I won't do that. We have a little tool on our site where you can
You fade out AI at your own peril, pal. UBN says the only AI he recognizes is Allen Iverson.
For people who do like to odd shop, I know it can be a tedious process, going from sportsbook to sportsbook. Well, the wonderful behind the scenes crew at where I work, Sportsbook Review, has eliminated that trouble. And if you go to our website, sportsbookreview.com, you can go up to tools, and we have a bunch of handy little betting tools. You can go to picks. We've got all of our picks and odds, and you can actually click under the odds section. We've got a place called betting odds. Shows all of the lines, where to get it, or you could simply, at one of the other tools, type in the name of the team, and it will show you where the best price to get specific props is.
UBN wants to know if they
all
do
the
golf.
odd shopping for you. Yes, we do golf.
All right, there you go.
Yep.
All right. I can't wait to come back Wednesday and review how AI and Gabe did to review. Gabe is giving a thumbs up to AI today. He's saying yes.
Thumbs up. Plus 3.5 at -115 at ESPN Bet. That's the best.
There you
price.
go. And it's -4 at DraftKings. So we're going to actually call this -4 since that's what we've been using DraftKings. So we'll call it Lakers -4.
That changes everything.
Over the Magic. That changes everything. All right. We'll see you Wednesday, Gabe.
Sounds good.
Always fun. Whoops. What's going on here? It's like the kids flickering the lights. Stop doing that. Stop playing with the lights. Stop turning them on and off. If you listen to the podcast, you're like, what in the hell is he talking about? I had a little lag. If you're listening, I had a little lag with my graphic. I was clicking it off. It wasn't clicking off. Then by the time I clicked it back on, whatever. Stop doing that. Going on and off. Whatever. What's wrong with this? Boy, you people that are new. Like, who is this dumbass? One of those days. All right, we're going to wrap up the show with Saints talk. You got about 5, 6, 7 minutes to get in your final comments of the day. The topic has been, I know we're late. We don't do shows over the weekend, at least not right now. Brandin Cooks signed with the Saints. I think it was an hour or maybe 2 tops after we went off the air on Friday afternoon. Yeah, of course he did. I mean, I don't know how much we would have talked about it anyway. Holly Benson, so enjoyed this. I played one of your all-time favorites. Oh, that's probably spam, huh, Gabe? But Holly, it's great to see you anyway. Maybe you enjoyed the flickering lights on and off. Did you do that as a kid? Oh boy. Hemisphere, why Brandin Cooks? Why not? I mean, I think, look, another thing we didn't really talk about, we talked about the contract, 2 years, $13.5 million. And if you're talking about, we talked about potential of signing Stephon Diggs or Keenan Allen, other 2 possibilities. I don't like Stephon Diggs at all, okay? Whereas we talked about the reasons why Brandin Cooks was let go by Sean Payton, and I think most of us agree that he's probably grown up. Again, I remember what I was like at 24, 25, 26. I wouldn't want anything to do with that Brandin Cooks. I think this is a different Brandin Cooks. However, that being said, I don't want Stephon Diggs. I don't think he's worth the trouble. He hasn't done anything the past few years, and he's been injured. I'd rather have Keenan Allen, who I think is probably, if you're going to sign one of the 2, I'd go with Keenan Allen because I think he's a better veteran presence. I think, and look, then you talk about potential of having 2 old, quote unquote, old receivers. I'd be okay with it. I think it's not. But the reason why they signed Brandin Cooks, and I think not a Keenan Allen, at least not yet, is because he was more affordable. Maybe they'll figure out they have more money later. You got to you're still going to have plenty of time to make signings. I think the Saints want to make sure that they fill their position needs early in this draft before they go out and spend any more money on a receiver. Jason Benson says, how many speed receivers do we need? We need a possession receiver. I mean, I think Brandin Cooks is not necessarily a speed receiver anymore, Gabe. I mean, he's I know he's little, but I think he could be that kind of receiver for you. He's not really, and again, somebody said earlier, I don't remember who it was, I apologize, but I think he can help Rashid Shaheed a lot. Gabe says same speed still. I mean, if that's the case, I want to drink. No, wait. What now? I want to drink from the fountain of his youth. Is he Endymion or something? Some speed, not the same speed. I got you. But he's not a speed receiver. I mean, that's not what he is. He's a possession receiver. I mean, so in answer to your question, Jason, I think a veteran guy at his age, first of all, you're not going to find, I'm not saying never, because you never say never, but a 32-year-old receiver, you're not going to find many 32-year-old speed receivers. It's not going to happen. Sean asks, with Cook signing, could you still see the Saints signing a wide receiver in the first round? God, I hope not. Absolutely not. I mean, how many times Sean, I know you watch this show multiple times per week, maybe not the whole thing, but you know what I think they need in the first round. If they draft a receiver in the first round, I'm going to go in ape shit. You cannot draft a receiver in the first round. That's not even close to the top Saints need. And this team is in no way, shape, or form in a position to not draft for need. Jason's asking how many games he missed the last couple of years. Well, he played 10 games last year. I know that. Okay. I don't think he missed much before that, but I will call up, since you asked, and we've done a lot of live checking stuff here today, the last couple of years. It's a valid question. Very valid question. Okay, he played in 10 games last year. He had 54 targets, caught 26 passes for 259 yards. Year before that at Dallas, he played in 16 of 17 games. So he only missed one. The year before that in Houston, he played in 13 of 17 games. Before that in 2021, played in 16. Year before that in 2020, played 15. So he didn't miss a whole lot. But at his age, you can pretty much expect him to miss a couple games here or there. I mean, it's going to happen. UBN says he still can get open. I agree. Again, they don't have him for his deep pass capabilities. I don't think. Now, I do think that there will be times where look, his longest play in his history, a 98-yard reception from Breeze. It was a screen pass, and he took it to the house. Does he have that kind of breakaway speed? I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's a good deal. Again, as we wrap up today, and if you want to get it, you got like 2 minutes. We're going to wrap the show early today. Where we are right now with this team. I think overall it's a good signing. We heard Adam say earlier he had asked me on the side, like, what grade would I give? And maybe we'll have a whole show on this on Friday. Wednesday. Maybe this will be the show Wednesday. Wednesday will be, what grade would you give the Saints so far in free agency? Sean says they need the trenches. I understands that. And I'm not mocking you, by the way. The fact that a lot of mock drafts, there are a lot of mock drafts out there. That's why I say, and we are going to do, I think it was you that asked me the other day, are we going to do our own mock draft? I think maybe Gabe and I will get together and we'll have some kind of mock draft. What would be fun, Gabe? Maybe we can have a whole show where it's just me and you, and we go back and forth. We have our own little NFL draft. That's one good way to do a mock draft. You want to do that? Let's plan that for what is. I don't want to do it too early. Maybe in a couple weeks. Maybe we do it on a Friday. Maybe UBN gets. I don't know. We'll have some fun with it. We're gonna figure out how to do this. But that's how we're gonna do our mock draft. It might be someone else as well with Gabe. Maybe it'll be UBN. I don't know. We're gonna have fun with it. But there are a lot of mock. Look, I've seen some just silly, stupid mock drafts out there that have. There was one mock draft in particular. I don't even remember the name who did it. It's somebody who actually has a decent sized social media presence. His mock draft was 3 skill positions in the first three rounds. And I don't usually chime in, but I couldn't help myself. Here's my 0.0 for the day. The chances the Saints use their first 3 picks in this year's NFL draft on skill players is 0.0. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. And look, if they do anything but draft in the trenches with this first pick or trade down, I'm telling you, you're going to want to watch that live show. It's going to be on the Dattitude YouTube channel, and it's going to be on Saints Insider channel. You're going to want to watch it. I'm telling you. Earl Russo says we need a big-bodied receiver, but he will help. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think we did. That's why Keenan Allen is a possibility. If they're going to do that, I think they got to wait till after the draft now, though. I think you need to wait and see what your draft looks like. What can you get out of this draft? And then go back and spend some of that excess money. Don't spend it all now. It's not like sending my 9-year-old to the candy store with $5 and telling her, look, we're going to go back to the candy store again on Wednesday, and I'm not giving you any more money. And she goes to the candy store and she spends $4.98 because that's what would happen. And then beg me Wednesday for more money. You can't beg for more money in the NFL when you're talking about free agency. It ain't happening. You're not going back to the candy store and getting more. This is what you got. They're pretty much done with redoing contracts. The money they have is the money they have. So I really think that you're not going to see. They might make one more move before the draft, but I don't think there's going to be much more happening before the draft. That's my opinion. Again, we're going to do a show, and again, it might be Wednesday. It's either going to be Wednesday or Friday. We're going to have a show that focus. What grade would you give the Saints free agency thus far? Spoiler alert. I'm not going to tell you the exact grade, but I think the Saints overall, they've done pretty good considering where they were. Brian Esteve says the free agency moves feel like the Saints position themselves to take the best player available in the draft. I disagree. They haven't done anything at offensive line except sign Will Clapp and re-sign Landon Young. Kellen Moore, I'm telling you, y'all are getting. I think let's go back to the reality check. How do we start this show? Why do contracts seem exorbitant? Why does 2 years, $13.5 million seem like a lot when it's not a lot? It's almost nothing. Because it was a lot, like even 3, 5, 7 years ago. You're thinking in the past. Why do people think 3 years, $30 million or whatever for Juwan Johnson is ridiculous? Because you're living in the past. It's not a lot now. Excuse me. It's the same reason why you think they're okay at offensive line. Kellen Moore doesn't think they're okay at offensive line, I promise you. I'm going a little verklempt here. I promise you he doesn't think we're okay. That's why I'm almost sure that's where they're going to go. Chad Gage, are there any good free agent offensive linemen we could sign to put us in a position to go elsewhere in the draft? Yes, but I don't think there are still probably 4 to 6 decent offensive linemen in free agency. Apologize. I don't think the Saints are going to go in that direction. However, if they do go there, I think that, again, I don't think they're going to make any more major signings until after the draft. I just don't. Chad says free agency so far B-. Earl says C. Jeff Haspel says solid B. Brian says he's worried that they think that they think that they put themselves in position to sign the best player available. I don't think they think that at all. Again, rookie head coach who's offensive minded. What did Sean Payton do besides sign Drew Brees? Was the first thing he did. Shored up the offensive line. Then he went out and got himself playmakers. But he shored up the offensive line first. They've I don't want to say fixed, because they have a long way to go to fix their defense. Remember 2 years ago, we were talking about Hell, last year we're talking about this could potentially be this great defense that turned into crap. But they've done what they've needed to do to make themselves competitive on defense and free agency. I think they're going to use the draft to get better in offense. I absolutely think they're going to pick skill players in the top 3 rounds, just not 1, 2, and 3. I don't think you're going to see a skill player picked in the first round. I would be very surprised, and unless it's Ashton Genty, I would not be happy with that. Lance says, need a corner, though. Yeah, well, maybe they do that in the draft. That's a possibility as well. I hope they don't. Got to get offensive line. They're going to get a defensive lineman in this draft as well. But that, we talked about it with Mike Detillier, how deep this draft is defensive line. Lance gives free agency a solid B so far. Earl says, we not okay on O-line. There's no doubt. We got no depth. None. Almost none. Now, that being said, I think they're at this point in time right now, which still isn't good. I think this point in time right now, the Saints are better on the offensive line than they were this time last year. Again, don't get me wrong, because last year I was Chicken Little. I was the one saying the sky was falling on the offensive line. They did better than I thought they would do. Again, I give Trevor Penning a ton of credit to the point where I think he could be rehabilitated. Maybe not at right tackle. I still don't love Trevor Penning as your right tackle. You may have no choice. You might have to go with him as your right tackle this year. I hope not. But I'd love to see the Saints draft the left tackle, move Fuanga back to his native right tackle, move Penning to left guard. I think you actually could have a decent O-line if that works out. Think about what you could do. Then you got your Ruiz at right guard, and you got Eric McCoy at center. You still don't have a ton of depth, but you got Will Clapp now who can play center, backup center, or guard. You got Landon Young who can play backup tackle or backup guard. You don't want to use Landon Young as your starting guard. Things would start to take shape. You got Nick Saldiveri as a backup guard who got starting time last year. If you can, that's why I think one pick at offensive line in the first round could change so much. If you go out and get UNA, if Will Campbell is still there at 9, you could put Will Campbell at left tackle. You move Fuanga to right tackle. You put Penning at left guard. It's nothing says that he's absolutely going to be successful there, but I think he would be. I just think it changes so much. Lance says that we're definitely better O-line right now than we were last year. That's why the first pick will be skill. Just because you're better doesn't mean you don't need to go out and get some. Better than absolute crap still doesn't mean you're good. They're not good on the offensive line right now. If I had to rank them, and I know PFF ranks them somewhere in the neighborhood of 24, 25 at the moment. That's not good. That means you need help there. You need skill players, no question, but not right off the bat. This is a running back heavy draft. They need a running back before they need a receiver. If you want to go O-line, running back, receiver, I'd rather you not use 2 picks in the first 3. I'd rather you take a receiver in the 4th round and hope it works out and get another one in free agency. Yeah, Gabe. There's been 50 feet of crap, and then there's the Saints when you're talking about O-line. Earl Russo says, got to get Will Campbell if he's there. Got to. That's my opinion. If he's there, and look, we've talked about how Will Campbell has slipped a little bit. That's my opinion. And we got plenty of time to talk about the draft, and we will. That's going to wrap up the show for today. Another show under an hour and a half. Man, we are. Y'all remember back in the day. So I don't know how many of y'all like from the beginning. I know we got UBN listening to me from the beginning. There might be a couple other that was listening to audio only podcast, but we used to do podcasts every now and then. We're 45 minutes an hour. And then when I came on and said we're going to do live shows and it was going to be, we try to hold it to 45 minutes an hour. That didn't last long. Now if we do it in under an hour and a half. Might be the final comment of the day. Lance Stobart says, give me a full year with Eric McCoy and a free agent guard with competent to high-level play calling. This line can be top 10. Please email me. You can't email it. Please send me whatever you're smoking. I want to have fun this weekend. They ain't got a prayer in hell to be a top 10 line this year. Not a prayer in hell. I would take 16th to 17th is the absolute ceiling, and I'd take that in a heartbeat. If this team has an average offensive line, gets one more skill player, one more starting skill player in the draft, I think this team could be decent next year. I'm not saying great, not going overboard. I'm talking about decent. Things to talk about. Things we will talk about. Got some stuff coming up. We talked about it. Either Wednesday or Friday. We will have, probably be Friday. Now the thing, I'm going to try to get Larry on the show Friday, and maybe we'll do a show. We're going to do a show one day this week on what would you give the Saints grade of free agency so far. I'm going to tell you mine's definitely better. Average is C, so I've already told you it's better than average. So it would be, spoiler alert, it will be better than C. Yeah, we're going to do that. And then Gabe and I, in the next few weeks, we'll have a mock draft show where we're going to just have a straight out, we will do the entire show having a mock draft. And we'll talk a little bit about each player. That we'll go through every team, not just the Saints. Of course, we're going to do the Saints. It'll be fun. We'll do that in the next couple of weeks. But that is going to wrap it up for y'all. Glad Mano E Monday's back. We had fun with it. We got to. I don't know if it's going to be every Monday in the off season, but a lot of Mondays we'll go back to it. Then of course during the season starts, we'll do nothing but Mano E Mondays. That will wrap it up for us on this Monday. I want to thank today's guests, Gabe Henderson, and you, of course, you. We hope you can join us on Wednesday. I have no idea who our guest will be on Wednesday, but we will have one. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live, which is 11 a.m. Central Time. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm so excited about it. I'm getting verklempt. See? Choking. Just so excited. We're back Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. live. And if you don't catch us live, you can catch us after the fact. Subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. You'll always know when it's there. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Our final comment of the day is directed at Gabe Henderson. Lance says the Texans are going to win 9 games. Thumbs down, he says. Maybe he thinks they're going to win 8. I lied. For one more final comment. Christian, should the Saints trade with the Raiders swap first rounders plus Chris Olave to get Genty? Hell to the no. And the Raiders wouldn't do that anyway because they're going to draft Genty. You heard it here first. You can find me at bet.nola.com. You can find our Saints insiders on NOLA.com/Saints. We will see you all on Wednesday. If you live in and around the New Orleans area, we hope you find a way to stay dry. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.